Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. So, good morning, or good morning. And in Cebuano, maayong buntag po. Maayong buntag po. Cebuano is the language that is spoken by the folks with the UU Church of the Philippines. It's also the language that my family speaks. My family is from the island of Cebu in central Philippines, which is about a 3-hour awesome ferry ride to Dumaguete, which is the headquarters of the UU Church of the Philippines. So, we in the States, we have Boston, right? In the Philippines, they have Dumaguete, which is the largest city in the regional province of Negros Oriental. Negros is one of the 7,107 islands of the Philippines. So out of those 7,000 islands, most of our UU churches, actually 24 of our UU churches, are located on one island. That one island is Negros Oriental. And we have one congregation outside of the island of Negros in Metro Manila, in a place called Bicutan in Metro Manila, and it's mostly working class folks. And so I'm here today to talk about the pilgrimage that I did with my family this past January. This was my third pilgrimage to the UU Church of the Philippines, but this was the first time I brought along my mom, my dad, and my sister, who are all watching right now. Hi, mom, dad, and sister. And I was able to be there with my whole family. And it really changed a lot of things for me. And so thank you so much to your Reverend Vanessa for this invitation to preach. Thanks so much for Sam to being an amazing worship associate. Thank you to Akane and Bill and Christine and Nancy for your gifts of music and just creating that mood for us. Thank you so much to Jonathan. Welcome back. All your support. You have such an amazing team here. And every time I come to this church, I can feel it. And I can feel how strong it is, and it inspires me. Last time I was here was in November 2023 with Mari, your amazing Mari, as my worship associate. And it's just so good to be back together again. So the UU Church of the Philippines is one of the few denominations in the Philippines ordaining women, ordaining LGBTQ folks, marching for environmental justice, protecting coral reefs, using our values as a liberal religious beacon in the heart of one of the most conservative Catholic countries in the world, where even divorce is still not yet legal. So imagine what that means for women, for LGBTQ folks, for folks that are indigenous and at the margins. And so the existence of the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Philippines allowed me, as a queer, brown, Filipino American, to claim this Unitarian Universalist faith as my own. The moment, that moment that I learned about the UU Church of the Philippines in General Assembly 2006, St. Louis, that was the moment that changed my life. In that single moment, the chalice of my UU faith, the spirit of my Filipino ancestors, and my LGBTQ identity proudly found one place to call its spiritual home. My parents speak the same Cebuano language, and during that pilgrimage, I'll never forget my mother serving as translator for my sister and I, not wanting us to miss a single word, a single song, or a single beat. I'll never forget my younger sister pulling me aside and saying, "Kuya, older brother, I get it now. I get what Unitarian Universalism is all about." It took us traveling 7,000 miles away for us to really understand the power of our liberal faith. Reaching past all horizons, we catch our breath. This sermon draws on the 2001 Maglipay Universalist book, A History of the UU Church of the Philippines, written by Reverend Dr. Frederick Muir emeritus of the UU Church of Annapolis, where he was a minister for over 30 years. The headquarters, as I said, is in Dumaguete, and it's in the heart of the Visayan province, about an hour-and-a-half flight south of Manila. And Reverend Toribio Cienes Quimada founded the Universalist Church of the Philippines, as it was called in 1955, with this clear Universalist message. And I think the Universalist message in our faith somehow becomes under the Unitarian message, and part of the Universalist Church of the Philippines is that I want us to remember our Universalist roots. So Reverend Quimada would preach on top of soapboxes at the marketplaces next to the carabao and the rice and the hustle and bustle, and he would preach with these words. He would say, God is love. Everybody's going to heaven, everybody. Everybody is a child of God, rich and poor, male and female, old and young. God blesses everybody. No exceptions. Everyone is going to heaven. All of us are saved. All of us are worthy. This is the essence of our Universalist faith. With the spirit of that early Universalist zeal, Reverend Quimada was on a quest for a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. He left the Catholic Church of his youth and became affiliated with Iglesia Universal de Cristo, which allowed him to read the Bible for the first time, something not allowed by the Catholics. Because of the enthusiasm and grasp that he had for his new faith, Quimada was soon asked to teach Sunday school and then to preach. And then by the time that he was 31 years old, Reverend Toribio Quimada had 9 congregations under him that were all affiliated with the Iglesia Universal de Cristo. And so he began searching for religious education resources for his growing community and began reaching out internationally. Now, this is the part of the story that takes on a level of serendipity, if you will, divine providence, destiny, or as UUs call it, our 7th principle, which stated that we respect the interdependent web of existence of which we are a part. What happens to one strand of the web affects all strands of the web. So in 1951, a new resource arrived by mail. In the most out of the ordinary way, Reverend Quimada received a letter that was wrapped in an old newspaper, an old American newspaper, from one of the leaders of his churches. What a surprise Quimada found that as he unwrapped this American newspaper, he saw there was a list of Protestant denominations. He got really excited and immediately went to the letter I for Iglesia, and then he looked for the letter U for Universal. And instead, what Quimada found was something unexpected. What he found was the Universalist Church of Wisconsin. So this was in 1951. He wrote to the Universalist Church of Wisconsin, excited that maybe these Universalists share my ideas as a Universalist. And so he wrote, and because this was 1951, his letters went unanswered. Something happened. There wasn't email yet. And months later, he kind of didn't give it any other thought, but the universe kind of kept coming towards him, and months later, he found another Universalist reference, this time from a local farmer's almanac. Do folks know what an almanac is? Farmers would use that, especially in places like the Philippines, and in that almanac, he found the address of the Universalist Church in Gloucester, Massachusetts. This time, his letter was answered, enthusiastically answered, and he received a supportive reply from that church. And months later, the church escalated his request to top denominational leadership. And in the years that followed, Reverend Dana Klotz, executive director of the Universalist Service Committee, worked very closely with Quimada to fan the flames and grow this movement of liberal religion in the heart of the Philippines. One candle, one chalice, lighting the flame of another. Reverend Quimada soaked in the international educational resources from the Universalist Service Committee, and soon Reverend Quimada's newfound and well-spoken religious liberalism became very unpopular with the leadership of the Universal Iglesia Ni Cristo, to which him and those 9 congregations were still connected to. And so, that year, the Universal Iglesia Ni Cristo excommunicated Reverend Toribio Quimada and his 9 churches. This theological gap created a liberal religious opportunity, and on April 25th, 1955, those 9 original Universalist churches became the Universalist Church of the Philippines, April 1955, the date that Reverend Armand spoke of, a date that's celebrated every year among our UUs in the Philippines. And that same year in 1955, a Japanese Universalist minister, Reverend Toshio Yoshioka, visited from Japan to Negros and made his report to the Universalist Church back in Boston. These are the words of Japanese Universalist minister Reverend Toshio Yoshioka in 1955. He said, "Mr. Quimada and his people were surprised and very much relieved by the Universalist teaching of universal salvation and the idea of a loving God rather than an angry, vengeful God. It seems to me that the Filipinos are experiencing the very same thing as some of the early Americans in the Universalist days when it was still coming. Touch but one thread, no matter which. Your beloved Thomas Starr King, this historic pulpit is just an amazing honor to be part of, and I want to quote Starr King in this often phrase that really kind of, I think, helps understand the distinctions between Unitarians and Universalists. Reverend Thomas Starr King often said this about our people. He was the son of a Universalist preacher and a Unitarian preacher. So Thomas Starr King was one of the original Unitarian Universalists long before the 1960 merger. And so Thomas Starr King said, "The Universalists believe that God is too good to damn them, while the Unitarians believed that they are too good to be damned by God." Starr King, that was one of his ways that he really understood us and understood who we are, and that Universalist faith is rooted in the God of love. And this faith spread quickly on the island of Negros, becoming 24 congregations on the island of Negros. And Toribio Quimada had a tragic death. He died fighting for farmers' rights in the Philippines, and his daughter, Reverend Rebecca, took over for her father. She recalled her father preaching extemporaneously for hours on topics like universal salvation for all, and hell is hatred to your neighbors, heaven is love to them. I'm reminded of that classic Universalist saying, "Love the hell out of the world." Love the hell out of the world. Currently, the UU Church of the Philippines has only 7 active partner churches in the United States, and they are always looking for more. These partner churches have active international relationships, organize regular pilgrimages to the Philippines, sponsor life-changing educational and scholarship opportunities. The closest UU partner church in the Bay Area is the UUs of San Mateo, which has had an active partner church since 2001. Several churches like yours that already have existing partner relationships in Transylvania find that adding a Philippine partner church can enrich the international relationships and mutual understanding. I think of Australian Indigenous activist Lila Watson, who tells us, if you have come here to help me, you are wasting your time. But if you have come because you know that your liberation is bound to my liberation, then let us work together. So how can we take our values of justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity to create international relationships of mutuality? Relationships like Sam talked about earlier in Ghana. What does it mean to be Americans in a global world of justice, of privilege, and of oppression? Somehow, against all odds, the spirit of liberal religion is flourishing among thousands of Filipinos in the Philippines. Here in the Bay Area, we have the second highest Filipino American population in the nation. In the Bay Area, we have over 500,000 kababayan, Filipinos, and Filipino Americans. As we move towards our vision of becoming an anti-racist, multicultural, beloved community, how do we better serve the diverse, liberal religious needs of all people that call the Bay Area home? What can a relationship with the UU Church of the Philippines teach us about our Unitarian Universalism that may resonate with other people of color down the street, down the block? How could a relationship with the UU Church of the Philippines enhance, reinvigorate, and have a stronger sense of purpose for your existing partner church council with our Unitarian siblings in Transylvania? Our faith, Unitarian Universalism, says there's a place for everyone at the welcome table. Collective liberation means that none of us are saved until all of us are saved. No one left behind, no one forgotten. There is a living web that runs through us to all the universe, linking us each with each and on to the distant stars. The web is real. Our folly is that we so soon forget. Amen.